The Tragedy of Cinema podcast is intended as a family-friendly program that by extension strives to be inclusive to all people regardless of their ethnicity, gender, creed, or any other identifying factors in this incredibly diverse world of ours. With that said, some of the films we discuss may contain serious subject matters or have content considered morally objectionable by today's standards. We do not intend to condone or dismiss these aspects of these films, but our primary focus will be on what we believe the film succeeds at, some fun facts, and our personal enjoyment factors of each film. With that said, we hope you enjoy the show.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Tragedy of Cinema, the 4-year anniversary show on the Titanic Part 2. Kyle, we're not going to waste any time since we still have a ton of notes to get through. We're going to just go ahead and jump right in here. No introductions, no questions. So here we go.
Just going to dive in. Go for it.
The piece of wooden paneling that Rose is floating on after the sinking is based upon a genuine artifact that survived the sinking. It is on display at the Maritime Museum of the Atlantic in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada, though it was scaled larger to provide sufficient buoyancy as a life raft for Rose. They scaled it larger, but they couldn't make it large enough for Leonardo and Jack to get on there with her. Come at me.
That is the best. The boat was too small, so we just made it a boat.
No, not the boat. The door.
They made the door a boat.
This is based upon the door from the actual Titanic. But we made it bigger so the person can fit on there. That's ridiculous.
Just made it a little more bigger than that.
Right. Made it a little bit more, and you could have squeezed him on there. Oh, wow. We're already off to a stellar start for part 2.
Fantastic. That's a favorite fact so far.
Oh, just wait.
Okay. All right. David Warner's second time being in a movie about the Titanic. Fun fact there. I guess he was also in the 1953 version of it as well.
Steven Spielberg was so impressed with the film's 3D conversion that he hired the same retrofitting company to do the same for Jurassic Park in 1993 for the 3D conversion of that movie later too.
Oh, fun. Okay, cool. Titanic was the first time the two actresses, Kate Winslet and Grace Stewart, have been nominated for an Oscar from the same movie for playing the same character. Of course, it's the first time and the only time. Thanks, fun facts for writer. Yeah. The movie supposedly lasts about 34 minutes longer than the actual Titanic took to sink, although I'm hearing contradictory evidence from the previous notes too, where actually it's exactly the same time it took Titanic to sink, or it's 34 minutes longer, or it's 23 minutes early, or something like that too. But regardless, it's around that general time frame.
Right.
Yeah.
For the safety of the stuntmen, most of the props were made of foam rubber. So falls off, hits the propeller. Rubber.
Yeah, good stuff there.
Both Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio learned how to dance the polka for the scene set at the party in the third-class compartments.
Nice.
After completing Terminator 2 Judgment Day in 1991, James Cameron got the idea to do the film after watching A Night to Remember in 1958. He spent 5 years doing research on the Titanic and its fate.
5 years.
5 years.
That gives us more of a timeline of the pie chart of his life, how much he spent doing Titanic research.
Right, because that was in 1991.
Yeah.
So after he finished that, then 5 years. So
then another year and a half, another year basically, making the film, then releasing it again, then doing specials like for the 20th and 25th anniversary. So at this point, about 8 years of his life have probably been spent kind of neck deep in Titanic research and history, which would make him one of the most foremost experts in the world, I'm sure.
Right. The first class lounge was deemed to be too expensive a set to be built. As a miniature of it was required for the flooding scene, one was built to a quarter of the real size. This was then green screened as background for the scenes where the actors were sitting in the lounge.
Impressive. Once again, for an incredibly expensive film, it's imagining that they still had moments where we need to save money on this because this is going to be too expensive.
But it's still expensive.
Yeah,
it could have been a lot more expensive.
Yeah, and in another millennium of James Cameron existing, it's we need to make the world of Pandora. Literally, just need to make the plane. Get a Genesis device, put it in there.
Kyle, I have a question for you.
What's that?
Do you think that they reused any of the water from Titanic in Avatar 2?
Almost assuredly. Same company, same water. He had a bottle from
from it from the first time, and he's poured that in there to christen the new Avatar 2.
Hey, he takes the cap off and he says, Kyle, smell this. You know what this is? It's the smell of sweet success, baby. Smell of sweet success.
This is the smell that made me $100 million. It's like, wow. Okay.
Most of the ocean that extras were jumping into was only 3 foot deep.
Even then, that's still a lot.
But still,
of water.
jumping off like something off the top of that dude, falling in the water. 3 foot's not very deep.
No,
you could shatter your ankles or something.
At that point, you have to belly flop.
Belly busters.
Belly busters.
Cannonball. If you were on the Titanic, well, how would you have dove off? I would have probably done the cannonball.
Exactly.
Tuck and roll.
Do a flip. Do a barrel roll.
The most expensive first class suite on the Titanic cost $4,350, the equivalent of about $75,000 today.
Yeah. When Jack is warning Rose about how cold the water is, he refers to it as 1,000 knives stabbing you all over your body. This is an actual quote told by Second Officer Charles Lightoller, played in the film by Johnny Phillips, to the American inquiry into the sinking of the Titanic. So, actual historical context there.
Kate Winslet has no aversion to nudity, so she performed her nude scenes without the use of a body double.
Good for her.
Good for Kyle. The sinking coat was a size 8, while the rest of the gowns were a size 4. It was so large to make Rose seem more vulnerable in the sinking scenes. Which I always wondered that. It did look pretty big as she was...
Unusually large, yeah, kind of thing. Odd, but still cool. Whatever you want to do for the film, I guess. The first and last lines of the film are both spoken by Brock Lovett, played by Bill Paxton. The very beginning of the film, he says, "There are 13 meters. You should see it." Yeah, when they're first coming into the actual sinking of the ship. And then at the end of the film, it says, 3 years. I thought of nothing except Titanic, but I never got it. I never let it in, respectively. So it's the first and last line of the film.
That's pretty cool. Production of the film began in 1995 when James Cameron shot footage of the real wreck of the Titanic. He was able to persuade 20th Century Fox to invest in the film by convincing them that the publicity surrounding a real-life dive to the wreck would be really beneficial to the production, and it was. At the TED conference in February 2010, James Cameron stated, "Secretly, what I wanted to do was a dive to the real wreck of Titanic, and that's why I made the movie." The statement brought laughter and applause. He's like, "Nah, I had to make this movie just so I could dive down to the Titanic." I mean,
that is amazing. It's like, I just want to take a dive down to Titanic, so I made one of the biggest films of all time to do it. It's
right?
Like, what?
Why?
James Cameron doesn't miss, and he might be the most true to life, I wanted to do something, so I just made it possible in a way of real life. And we talk about other industry leaders of their time, or even our current time. It's Elon Musk is a huge fraud. James Cameron, though, if he wanted to, absolutely would go to space to make Pandora.
Following her grueling experience on this film, which included a rigorous filming schedule as well as experienced many hardships and bruises, Kate Winslet said, quote, "You'd have to pay me an awful lot of money to work with James Cameron again." Apparently, her request was granted because she has been confirmed to appear in Avatar 2. Yeah. Leonardo DiCaprio also acknowledged it was a tough shoot, yet he stated that if he would ever do another action movie, he would want Cameron as a director.
Yeah. There were some other interviews I looked for later after the fact of Avatar 2 coming out, because this note was taken before the movie came out. But after the movie came out, Kate Winslet was saying, it wasn't so much about the money, although I'm sure that was nice. It was also that James Cameron has... progress as a director and soften as his approach to making actors do what he wants in the film, and so he's a lot more manageable as a human being.
Or maybe Kate Winslet just grew up as an actress herself.
Vice versa, of course, as well. But I wouldn't be surprised if James Cameron is kind of, as a director, might have a god complex sometimes and might be kind of rude.
If you guys are hearing anything in the background, we are having some severe thunderstorms.
We're currently filming this in a hurricane.
Yes, a hurricane, really. James Cameron forfeited his $8 million director salary and his percentages of the gross when the studio became concerned at how much over budget the movie was running. That initially compliments over the raw footage became more sparring over time as the cost spiraled out of control. And the studio heads of Paramount Pictures acted like they'd been diagnosed with terminal cancer as the release date drew near. Even Cameron himself was at one point convinced that the film would bomb and he would never work again. The last remaining survivor of the Titanic was Melvina Dean, born the 2nd of February 1912. She died 31st of May 2009 at the age of 97. She never married or had any children.
My gosh. The final shot of the film is similar to the ending of James Cameron's previous film, The Abyss, which also ends with a passionate kiss between a couple who are the main characters of the story. Hypothermia and deep-sea exploration are also important topics of each film.
Both Leonardo DiCaprio and Jason Barry injured themselves while filming the scene in which their characters pull up a bench in third class and use it to smash a gate open. DiCaprio threw out his shoulder, and Barry caught himself in the chin with a bench.
Ooh,
I bet that hurt.
both of those. Just, that's painful. Ooh.
I mean, I pulled my shoulder out when I dropped my phone in the car, and I reached down to the floorboard to try to get that muzzle.
I was like, okay, this is going to be out of time.
I'm getting old.
Like a week.
Robert De Niro was offered the role of Captain Smith, but turned it down due to a gastrointestinal infection at the time.
Ooh, I feel like he would actually be distracting to that role if he was in there because he's such a big star.
Captain?
Yeah, well, I feel like because he's such a huge star, you want to know more about his role in the film as it keeps going forward. Versus right now, like the current Captain Smith, like he's a supporting character. He's not
what movie did we do where they were like the top build, but they were only in the movie for like 5 minutes or something? Do you remember that?
I don't remember.
I remember we covered something like that. This is ridiculous.
A quick little side note: I think that's a bad part of current films right now, especially like most recently I got it was like Alien, Prometheus by Ridley Scott when that came out, because like there was no supporting characters. They just got big stars to play every single conceivable role, even the supporting characters. So you can't just kill them off or make them unimportant. Unlike the original Aliens, which you just did a podcast on a few weeks ago, where it's actually like all these supporting characters play into their role so much better because you don't have the weight of having all the other roles attached to them and their star power having to be recognized in the film. So that's the thing where like once again, like that's why I think Robert De Niro would have been bad in this film. Right. So keep moving forward.
Rosa's chiffon dress, which she wears for the latter part of the film, was designed to look just as good wet as dry. Costume designer Deborah Lynn Scott had about 24 of them made.
I think that was achieved very effectively too. I think Quake Winslet looks beautiful in all scenarios, especially in that dress. So,
or out of her dress, as Kyle has stated. So.
Well, that's taken for granted. DiCaprio and Winslet, whose career skyrocketed following the film's release, both went on to win their first Oscars for Best Actor and Best Actress, respectively, for films starting with the letter R. DiCaprio won in 2016 for his role in The Revenant, and Winslet won in 2009 for her role in The Reader.
He waited a long time for his, though. I remember that being the joke of the Oscars.
Yeah.
Harlan and Wolff, the Belfast shipyard who built the Titanic in 1909, opened up their private archives to the production, sharing blueprints that were long thought lost, which is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Christian Bale auditioned for the role of Jack Dawson, but he was turned down because he was Batman. No, I'm kidding. Because James Cameron didn't want two British actors playing the lead roles of two Americans.
Yeah. Okay, understandable. Yeah, possibly would have hurt the film, possibly, but...
Hey, Kate Winslet... She suffered bruises so impressive that the makeup artist took photos to use for reference later. She also chipped a bone in her elbow. So she's like, hey, that's a good-looking bruise. Let me capture that.
That's a perfect bruise. And takes a photo of it. So
let me see if I can recreate that
for the rest of my life. I'm going to put this in a textbook if you don't mind.
Do it? Well, you see that bar over there?
That's
Run into it real hard.
That's amazing. The same year as this film released, James Cameron's wife at the time, Linda Hamilton, starred as Rachel Wanda in the volcanic disaster flick Dante's Peak in 1997.
All right, Kyle, this fact right here is, I think, probably the most interesting one that I found, at least that I remember covering.
All right.
And after all the awards that she won for the song, Celine Dion initially did not want to record My Heart Will Go On because she didn't want to sing another film song, and she didn't like it when James Horner first played it to her. She disliked Horner's singing abilities. After she was convinced by her husband, Renee, she stepped in and recorded the song in just one take. So the song that was used over the end credits and later released is actually a demo. One take, Kyle. One
take. Celine Dion doesn't need two takes. She does it all in one take because she's perfect. That's what she does.
She's a great singer. Legend.
Yeah.
But I thought, man, one take. How many vocal people out there, how many instrumentalists, how many bands would like to go in to record an album,
just record,
let's say 12 songs on an album,
yeah,
and you only have to do it once, one song each time. That's just ridiculous.
Like, the Beatles don't do that. Elton John doesn't do that. Rolling Stones doesn't do that.
Elvis maybe.
Celine Dion. Elvis basically just too lazy. Celine Dion just knocks out the park because she's that good.
But I thought that was an amazing fact. And she didn't really want to do it, but how many awards did she win? You listed her name about all 30 times.
She won all of them that year.
So, good for her. Yeah. The film was re-released on April 6, 2012 in 2D, Real 3D, and IMAX 3D to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the sailing and sinking of the ship and of the foundation of Paramount Pictures.
This film, along with the film Hellbound, Hellraiser 2, released in 1988, hold the record for the most time two characters have repeated each other's names.
Yes.
This film for Jack and Rose. So,
and Rose says Jack 80 times, and he says Rose 80. No, she says Jack 80 times. He says Rose 50 times.
50 times.
It's in the nose. Yeah. In the scene in the beginning where the captain orders full speed ahead and the shot moves down into the boiler room, the set was really just about 3 boilers, but the filmmakers had huge mirrors installed to visualize a great big long room. In this scene, if you look closely, you can see workers shoveling in coal. At about 20 feet down the room, you can see the mirror image of the workers. So I wonder if they got paid double for that for working twice.
There's 2 of me here, so I should get 2 checks.
I should get 2 checks. He probably handed them a beer with their check and be like, "There you go."
Your union rep, call your union rep in. Like, listen, Gutty, you're filming him twice. He gets 2 checks.
That's the way it worked. In the scene in the beginning, orders the full speed. Why do I do this, Kyle? You got to tell me to mark these off.
You're flustered. Okay. One of the studios that made this film is Paramount Pictures. Paramount Pictures was actually founded on May 8th, 1912, just a month after the original sinking of the Titanic in April 1912.
James Cameron infamously threatened to fire anyone who would dare get out of the tank for a bathroom break while shooting the lifeboat scenes, leading to more than a few actors, including Kate Winslet, relieving themselves in the water.
This film and Avatar were the top 2 highest-grossing films for almost 10 years, until Avengers Endgame finally overtook this film as the second highest-grossing film of all time. Iconically, this film and Avatar are, of course, both directed by James Cameron.
Hey, Kyle.
Yes? Jimbo?
Have you ever been to the ocean?
Have you been to the ocean? Yes, I have.
You ever been in the ocean?
No, not in the ocean.
You never swam in the ocean?
I've been in the Gulf of Mexico. I've not actually been in the ocean. I have not swum in the ocean.
Still hooked to the body of water.
I've swum in the ocean because I was on Daytona Beach once.
Right. Okay. So you've been in the ocean.
Yes.
Did you ever get the salt water in your eyes?
Yes.
Did you ever swallow any? Ever taste it?
Yes.
So part of me is the Titanic sank in the ocean. So technically, you're tasting dead people.
Yeah, and all the fishes poop in your face.
Isn't that just ridiculous?
Yeah, all the world.
But you never think about it. They're like, oh, where are you going to go to vacation? Oh, I want to go to the ocean and swim around in dead people's feces and body parts.
And literal dead people, yeah.
Right, yeah. And I'm like, because you think about all the ships that sank and everything. You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous.
That's something that a 14-year-old tells an 11-year-old to scare them.
That's what I just told you. So see, now Kyle's now afraid of water.
In the ocean, there's just pooping water of all the fishes in there, too. Yeah, of course.
And not only that, but mine now, too, right? Exactly. According to the according to the cast and crew commentary on the special edition DVD, the first scene filmed between Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet was the nude scene. The very first one was the nude scene where he draws her. The last shot of the film was the flooding of the captain's wheelhouse. It was a 3-second sequence that required multiple cameras and safety divers and a stuntman to play Captain Smith. So, can you imagine, hey, it's nice to work with you. Draw me like this.
Drama. Just immediately.
And Kyle passes out.
Yeah. Speaking back on the DVD, this is actually the first DVD in history to sell more than 1 million units. So, fun fact, it broke more records as it's continued to be released.
All right, Kyle, this is probably going to be one of your favorite facts. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
In 2012, Entertainment Weekly reported that when the movie was re-released in 3D, James Cameron didn't update any effects or fix any errors except one. When astrophysicist
Neil deGrasse I've heard the story.
A director of the New York Hayden's Planetarium, first saw the movie in its original theatrical release, he noticed that the configuration of the stars in the night sky during Rose's night in the water bore no resemblance to what the sky really looked like over that place on that night, and in fact, the same incorrect set of stars had just been duplicated for post-production. Tyson wrote a letter to Cameron explaining the error. Several years later, upon meeting Cameron in person, Tyson repeated his complaint. And then, at an event that occurred at the Hayden Planetarium, Tyson spoke about it to Cameron a third time. Finally, a post-production technician working on the re-release called Tyson and asked him to provide a picture of what the sky really would have looked like, and Tyson's star image was used to fix that shot. Before the shot was fixed, the stars were arranged to look like the Heart of the Ocean necklace.
It's the symbology of the film, Neil. Not everything.
It's
has
a necklace, Neil.
There's nothing. I block Neil deGrasse Tyson on Twitter and on TikTok and every social platform he's on. I hate his little movie cynicism. It's like, this would be impossible. Yeah, Neil, it's fiction. Shut up. Hate Neil.
Wow.
He's a good person, whatever. But for his film criticism and any of his art criticism, it is always the most boring takes ever. He's the reason why monsters today can't just be actual monsters. They have to be this quasi realistic BS things that are mounds of flesh, and it's like just give me a monster with nuts and bolts in his head. Give me actual Frankenstein.
Right.
Don't give me all these weird habba-jabbas that have weird ears. I don't care.
Here's another one of Kyle's favorite facts. When the stern of the ship is vertical, Chief Baker Joffin, Liam Tuhui in white, is drinking from a flask. Joan was one of the few to survive the freezing water, allegedly due to the alcohol, but this is disputed as unlikely since alcohol is known to accelerate hypothermia, not to help resist the cold. The scene was added after Liam showed the flask to James Cameron and explained that it was a family heirloom as old as the Titanic itself.
Oh, that's incredible. Yeah, actually, I didn't know that story was actually disputed or proven impossible. But that's why I was always told he got so drunk that the alcohol content actually prevented him from freezing, so he actually survived that way.
But if it actually survived, it says it accelerates hypothermia. But how do they have the flask if he survived? So he must have survived, correct? Or else it would have sank to the bottom.
Well, they didn't say if that flask was the real life flask he actually drank from. I believe
they said it was a family heirloom,
but it was as old as the event, not actually from the event.
I think from what you can
infer from that reading
from the family.
Oh, okay,
it's a family heirloom. It's
family heirloom. Yeah. Okay. To each their own. Okay. Okay. No, move on from that. Madame.
No, we're going to argue this.
Madame Bajorx was an elderly woman whom Jack Dawson had met in Paris. He claimed that she had came each night in the bar wearing all the jewelry she owned while waiting for her long lost love. He had made a portrait of her and kept it in a sketchbook. Not only is the drawing based on a 1933 photograph called Bijou, I hope I'm probably pronouncing that horribly, taken by a famous doctor, Brassi, but similarly, the older Rose at the beginning of the film is in fact wearing several necklaces, bracelets, and rings, waiting for her long-lost love to come back.
Speaking of old Rose, Gloria Stewart, who was 87 at the time of the film's release, lived to celebrate the 10th anniversary of its release at age 97. She became a real-life centenarian on July 4th, 2010. So she lived well over 100 years.
Oh, wow. It's fantastic for her. Excellent news. Yep. James Cameron, for kind of like a trademark of his directorial movies, one of the themes of this film is humanity's arrogance and over-reliance on technology leading to disaster. Also, for like the scenes where specifically James Cameron makes really, really perfect, well-done cuts, several of the dissolves between the Titanic on the seabed to the Titanic in the past, and the dissolve from the young to the old Rose are done with impeccable timing and perfect, transitions. So, excellent work there by James Cameron once again, and kind of a directorial trademark of his career.
Right. Even though the film brought them great fame, both Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet are now embarrassed by their performances in this film. Winslet called her American accent awful and feels that her acting could have been better, while DiCaprio calls himself a young punk in this film.
Yeah, and like
I thought it was okay. They
were
fine.
Yeah. At the end of the movie, when Rose meets Jack on the grand staircase, the time displayed on the clock is the same time the real life ship sank at 2:20 a.m.
Yep, that's an amazing fact. Many cast members came down with colds, flu, or kidney infections after spending hours in the cold water, including Kate Winslet. Several others left, and 3 stuntmen broke their bones.
Oh my God! 3 stuntmen broke their bones? That's incredible. That's painful. As originally scripted, Cal was intended to actually find Rose aboard the Carpathia after the sinking. Rose was to tell him to let her mother know that she died on the Titanic and that he would leave her alone for the rest of her life.
Wow. The scenes during which Thomas Andrews chastises Second Officer Charles Lightoller for sending the boats away without filling them to capacity is the only scene in the entire film in which the actor's breath was not digitally added in later. So all their breaths were digitally added. That's interesting too.
Once again, impressive attention to detail there to actually kind of keep them in space, and this is the only thing they didn't need, apparently. Okay. In a 2012 episode of Mythbusters, specifically their special Mythbusters Titanic Survival in 2012, tested whether or not Jack could have joined Rose on the floating door without submerging it, and therefore survived the story. As it turned out, he could have, particularly if he strapped Rose's life vest underneath the door to add buoyancy. James Cameron, who appeared on the episode, maintained that Jack needed to sacrifice himself for thematic reasons, obviously, since his only concern was Rose's survival, not his own. He later said that the hypothermia and short time to come up with a solution would have added any particular implementation virtually impossible. Cameron did not concede that he could have used a smaller door to make it more possible.
So let me just go ahead and dispute what Kelly said when we were recording last night, when we were recording out of Africa.
Yeah.
I told you there was room for Jack on that door, and she said, no, the buoyancy. Well, no, they could have done it. Right there. Mythbusters proved
it. Or
it.
they tried to gather other debris and put it under the door, too.
Yeah.
They once again could have kind of makeshifted.
Or they could have cuddled together.
Yeah, any kind of other...
She could have stood on his shoulders.
Yeah.
Okay, River Phoenix was
James Tyson.
All comes back to him. River Phoenix was James Cameron's first choice to play Jack Dawson. By the time the movie was made, River Phoenix had died, and Leonardo DiCaprio had reached the perfect age. Ironically, when Johnny Depp was offered the role of Jack, he turned it down. Here you go, Kyle. This will bring memories to you. Lindsay Lohan, auditioned for the role of Cora Cartmel. Lohan, who was then an unknown and was only 8 years old at the time casting took place, was the top choice for the role. However, James Cameron felt that Lohan's fiery red hair would confuse people into thinking she was related to the characters Rose and Ruth, who both had fiery red hair. Alex Owens Sarno was cast instead.
Oh.
So you could have had a Lindsay Lohan sighting.
Yeah, little Lindsay Lohan sighting, little young Lindsay Lohan. Yeah. That would have been kind of cool. It was similar like Drew Barrymore in E.T. that we kind of talked about a few weeks ago.
Oh, she would have been cool, too.
Yeah. Considerable controversy arose when James Cameron depicted the suicide of First Officer Murdoch. While Cameron did apologize to Murdoch's family members for the upset the scene caused them, he still kept a shot in the film, stating simply that while no one could prove that it did happen, neither could anyone prove that it didn't. Murdoch's body was never recovered, but it is generally agreed that he either froze to death in the water or went down with the ship. I believe he also went down to the entire the town that Murdoch lived in to apologize to the entire town, not just the family, if I remember that correctly. And that's kind of like goes to the burden of evidence. Like, you don't need to prove something didn't happen; you have to prove something actually happened.
Right.
But I still understand, like, for the film, the scene works well for conveying the drama. But even though it's not true to life in that one particular aspect. Yeah.
This is one of 3 films to win a total of 11 Academy Awards. This is as of the time of these notes. The others being Ben-Hur from 1959, which we've covered, and The Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King in 2003. After filming, the remains of the full-size set were sold as scrap metal.
Jeez. Okay.
Dude, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question.
Ask me a question, Jimbo.
If James Cameron said, okay, we have this full-size replica of the Titanic, we are cutting it down into 2-inch by 2-inch metal pieces to sell to you, how much would you pay for a part of the replica prop for the Titanic? How much do you think a 2 by 2
by 2-inch props like that, having like a certified seal, like
like one out of 10,000,
shipped in a dumb little case that you can keep. I bet those.
How much would you pay one for?
So in 1997 money, I would probably have paid about $30. I would say today I would probably be buying it for like $50. If I was a big Titanic fan, I'm not. I personally wouldn't buy it at all because I wouldn't care that much. But I imagine like $30 at the time that it was made, and $50 up to now if they came out today with that.
And they probably would have had about 100,000 or more. I mean, that's $30 million.
Individually numbered, certified, have that whole thing on a little case that has a little piece of metal on it
cool?
from the Titanic movie. Would be a very cool little piece of memorabilia that could actually
I need that for the Man Cave. Kyle, make that happen. Go to the scrapyard, find the exact...
Find the Titanic.
Kyle's like, I'm going to find the Titanic, make a documentary. He goes to the scrapyards.
I'm just imagining the most boring Netflix documentary called Find the Titanic. And it's just like 2 guys just going to random scrapyards trying to find the original scrap metal from the Titanic movie.
They have backhoes and all that digging up the ground where they've buried it.
Yeah, finding pieces of metal. I was like, this one is from the Titanic. They invite James Cameron and he says, no, I will absolutely not do that. That sounds boring.
Egg white was used for the initial spitting sequence, but petroleum jelly was used in the sequence where Rose spits on Cal. James Cameron supervised all of the underwater shots on the Titanic himself.
Rose, in her old age, owns a Pomeranian dog. A Pomeranian was one of the only 3 dogs known to survive the disaster as they real sheepsake. A passenger freed dogs from their kennels. Yeah, I don't think they actually see any dogs in the film itself.
You do, and I'll get to it in a minute.
Oh, okay, thank you.
On the set of Titanic, Leonardo DiCaprio's pet lizard was run over by a truck. But with some TLC, DiCaprio nursed him back to health.
Aw, that's excellent.
Yeah. James Cameron's regular Michael Biehn was nearly cast as Cal Hockley and attended numerous meetings with Cameron to discuss the role. All right, Cal, here's some more people that were considered. Pierce Brosnan.
Pierce Brosnan would have been great.
Rupert Everett.
No, I don't remember that name.
Peter Green.
Peter Green would have been cool.
William Hurt.
I've not heard that name in a long time. I don't remember it.
Jason Isaacs.
Could have knocked it out, yeah?
Rob Lowe.
Oh, excellent. Man, I want that world.
Matthew McConaughey. Hey, Rose, you mad at me?
No, my gosh.
All right.
That would have been terrible.
Adrian Paul and Rufus Sewell were also considered, though the part ultimately went to Billy Zane.
Okay, fair enough. Danny Nucci, the actor played Fabrizio, stated that there were several different versions of his death that were scripted. One of them would have involved him swimming up to Cal's swamp lifeboat and begging to be let aboard, saying it was his destiny to go to America. At that point, Cal was supposed to have knocked him unconscious with his oar and tell him, it's that way. Nucci was later told by director James Cameron that his screen time had been shortened and that his death scene had to be altered. The shot of him being crushed under the smokestack was shot during the reshoots.
Kate Winslet had to learn how to scuba dive in preparation for her scenes in the water. Even though the actors wore waterproof makeup for the scenes shot in the aftermath of the sinking, they constantly required touch-ups as chemicals in the pool they shot in would wash the makeup off. And this is the first movie to gross $1 billion.
$1 billion.
Right.
An alternative ending was shot in which Brock spots old Rose before she throws the diamond into the sea. She shows it to him and allows him to touch it before she throws it in anyway. James Cameron didn't use it, however, because it focused too much on Brock and took away too much for the closure of the character Rose.
Huh.
Yeah.
Composer, here you go, Kyle. About this one. Composer James Horner said in an interview that after he first saw a rough version of the film, he went home and wrote all the themes for this movie in 20 minutes.
All the things in
That's just I don't know how.
The amount of ridiculous stories about musical compositions being like, I spent months on this, or I spent 20 minutes and I made the best song in the world. You know.
The deep sea camera held only 12 minutes worth of film, but each dive took many hours. To make the best use of his resources, James Cameron had a 1/33 scale model of the wreck constructed and used it to rehearse each dive. The Russian sub operators would walk around the model ship holding model subs in their hands as Cameron explained the shots he wanted. So he was very detailed. Yeah, I'll give you some here in a second. The scale model of the underwater wreck ship had been on display in the Titanic Museum in Branson, Missouri for a number of years. In August 2011, it will be removed and taken back to Hollywood. Where it is used for the new Titanic 3D movie.
Oh, that's pretty impressive.
In all of the recorded maritime history, no ship has ever sideswiped collision with an iceberg like Titanic suffered, and no ship has had such an accident since. The force of the blow was likened to a C4 explosion, something that most modern ships would struggle to survive.
Actually, looking back here, so actually, in the story of the Titanic about actually owning Pomeranian, there were actually 12 dogs confirmed.
See, you
on
got
the
it.
Titanic.
I kept the notes and have
only three pets actually survived. 2 of them Pomeranians, and one of them was a Pekingese dog. So, due to a small size, were smuggled on the lifeboats.
Right.
So, cool.
And there's also a tribute. It might be in my notes, might be in yours. There's a tribute when Rose is wheeled up to the boat on to go look at the Titanic. She's holding one of her dogs.
That's what it says. When Elderly Rose exits the helicopter in her wheelchair.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
fun fact.
Pretty cool. Wasn't there those dogs that were on there that were like Kate Winslet's, you don't want to talk about
remember.
the big,
really don't.
Whatever they were.
I can skip over it.
Paul Rudd auditioned for the lead male role because his own father had been an avid Titanic historian. Despite his being able to reel off factual technical stats about the great ship, the casting team remained unimpressed. He's like, well, look, guys, here you go. Right here, you've got the Titanic. It's right here. It fell at a degree of 40 degree angle here. It rested on the floor in about 23 minutes.
I kind of would have loved to see that movie there because I think Paul Rudd could have done it too, and also how cool would it have been if Paul Rudd got to bring his dad on set for the Titanic movie. I'm sure he would have been blown away. Yeah. Was such a special experience,
especially if they actually got to go out to the wrecking site. You know what I mean? Before announcing development of this film, director James Cameron shot footage of icebergs off the coast Nova Scotia under the presence of making a film titled Planet Ice. Fooled you.
Stephen Dorff and Billy Crudup both turned down the part of Jack. Dorff later stated that he wasn't very impressed with the movie. He felt that Leonardo DiCaprio would have had a hard time matching the success of the movie in his further career, and therefore did not regret his decision. So, interesting.
So what do you think? Think Leonardo furthered his career, or no?
Yes and no. I feel like that's the reason why he didn't win an Oscar for almost 20 years was because of the Titanic, because he wasn't a very masculine presenting man in the Titanic film, and so he had to do another 2 decades worth of films where he tried to play a more masculine, straightforward person before the Oscars recognized him as a man, basically, and gave him an Oscar.
The L in the below party decks was actually root beer.
Root beer? Oh, good. Okay. Works for the scene, gives a kind of a sense of a party atmosphere still. Yeah. Jack kisses Rose's hands 3 times during the film. The first time was when they meet up at the staircase as they say hello before walking into the formal dining party. The second time is when they're both in the water and they say goodbye. Additionally, he kisses her hand when he slips her a note to meet him at the clock. So, interesting fact there. Only 3 kisses.
Jack and Rose officially meet on Friday evening, April 12th, 1912. The first one. Papers released by the Public Records Office showed that third-class passengers were not locked below deck, as is showed in the thing where it's like, no, we only have lifeboats for the rich people, so they weren't locked in there like it shows in the movie.
That's good to hear. That's particularly inhumane to lock them down there to drown to death in freezing cold water. Christian music artist Michael W. Smith wrote a song that was running to possibly be part of the theme called "In My Arms Again." The tone of the song was a role switch, being something Jack might have sung if the fates had been reversed. reversed. We actually listened to that song just before recording this podcast today, actually. So interesting fact. It's a good song.
Kyle, I don't know if you know this, but
I probably don't.
When the Titanic was sinking, there was actually a freighter called the Californian that was inside of the Titanic. Okay, and they had turned off their SOS stuff or whatever, or their radios. So the completed film ignores the Californian, which has stopped for the night due to the ice hazard, and was within sight of the Titanic throughout the sinking. The Californian's warning had been received and sent to the bridge, but was not placed in the chart room. So they could have been over there helping and maybe put more people on that ship, and not a lot of lives would have been lost.
Wow.
I didn't know that until I was reading these notes.
That's a staggering information to get. Oh my God.
Another version of the script included a scene on the California, but James Cameron cut out the subplot after filming it to shorten running time. The two actors in the scene on the California were Adam Barker as the radio operator, Sarah Evans, and Peter John White as the third officer Groves. So,
could you imagine being the Californian, learning that whole story, and then having to live the life of regret, knowing you could have saved so many of those lives?
Well, they were sending warnings over there. You know what I mean? They were sending warnings to the Titanic.
Yeah.
But it was sent to the bridge, but it was not placed in the chart room. Where they charted and all that. So the communication fell.
Okay. So it's on. Okay, still on the Titanic, it's not on the California itself. California did their due diligence.
Right.
Still.
But
wow.
I mean, if you've seen the Titanic take about 20 minutes, pretty much. And I don't know enough about the Titanic history, or haven't watched that many documentaries of where, if they were actually one of the people that came over there and helped, you know what I mean? I'm not sure on that, so.
Okay, we'll move on from that still. An enclosed 5 million U.S. gallons of tank was used. Of course, that's about 19 million liters for metric units. Was used for sinking interiors, in which the entire set could be tilted into the water. In order to sink the grand staircase, 90,000 gallons of water were dumped into the set as it was lowered into the tank. Unexpectedly, the waterfall ripped the staircase from its steel reinforced foundation. Although no one was hurt, the 744-foot-long exterior of the RMS Titanic had its first half lowered into the tank, but being the heaviest part of the ship meant it acted as a shock absorber against the water. To get the set into the water, James Cameron had much of the set emptied and even smashed some of the promenade windows himself after submerging the dining saloon. 3 days were spent shooting Lovett's ROV traversing the wreck in the present. So incredible work there had to be done there. Absolutely huge effort to get that ship sunk.
Right. 12 dives were necessary. On the last 2 dives, shots were taken by sending a remotely operated vehicle into the wreck. James Cameron had intended using this device only as a prop, but he actually used it taking it inside the wreck.
Oh, nice.
If measured by ticket sales rather than dollar gross, this would rank as the 5th most attended film of all time domestically, having sold an estimated 128 million tickets in its initial run and another 7 million after its 2012 reissue. It was the most attended film of the 90s and the most attended film since E.T. the Extraterrestrial in 1982, which sold 136 million estimated tickets.
Wow. Impressive work. Once again, absolutely, just it's hard to, put in your mind that kind of number and how impressive that was. Okay. A scene was filmed with Rose and her friend briefly looking at Jack in the first-class restaurant, obviously appreciative of how he looks in his borrowed tuxedo. Rose's friend looks especially enamored, but Rose turns into her and says he's spoken for. The scene is featured in the UK theatrical version on its original release, but was not present in the VHS release or the DVD release.
See, that always gets to me. Why is it in certain countries certain stuff is added in there and taken out? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it wasn't until still many films have that kind of thing where it's hard to get those deleted scenes to the public's hands, and I think it was the only reason the film the Plane, Trains, and Automobiles had that 4K re-release just last year where it had 90 minutes of bonus footage, which is essentially just alternative takes or other takes entirely of the film that are great, but it's there's still so many films where I want those moments in the movie, or I want to be able to see what that movie could have been in their world.
And I know one that you really want to see, Event Horizon.
Event Horizon. Oh,
with all that footage that is lost
forever. That'll never be recovered.
Nope.
Yep.
In 2007, the American Film Institute ranked this as the number 83 greatest movie of all time.
After the movie was produced, it was discovered that the gravestone from the Titanic passenger who died was Mark J. Dawson. James Cameron later stated he had no idea that was a real person.
To create the drawing of Rose, James Cameron had a photo session with Kate Winslet and took photographs of her sitting in different positions so he could use as reference. Cameron and Winslet didn't know each other well enough at that time for her to pose nude for him, so she posed in a bikini. Cameron had to use his imagination to draw her nude. Man, that specially constructed Baja water tank cost $40 million by itself.
$40 million. So that's the fifth of the entire budget just to make that tank. Yeah,
well, when half the movie's in the water.
Yeah. Definitely makes sense, but still. Several main characters are not present in the ending sequence, including Kyle Hockley, Rose's mother Ruth, Bruce Ismay, and Molly Brown. This is because they survived the sinking. Only the characters who died in the Titanic are present in the dream sequence, because it serves to illustrate Rose being reunited with all the people she lost when it sank, including Jack.
The wreck of the real Titanic was discovered in 1985 by ocean explorer Robert Ballard. Ballard was officially on a mission to locate the Titanic, but in reality, he had been secretly charged by the U.S. Navy to locate 2 missing American nuclear submarines with his deep-sea robot craft before they could be found by the Soviets. After quickly finding the subs, Ballard used the remaining time and resources in a successful search for the Titanic. Ironically, this closely mirrors the premise of the movie The Abyss in 1989, one of James Cameron's previous movies. Cameron stated that he was inspired to make The Abyss after seeing a National Geographic film about remote-operated vehicles working deep in the North Atlantic Ocean, much the same tools used by Ballard. Cameron's love for deep-sea diving, which he developed during the making of The Abyss, coupled with his fascination for shipwrecks, finally culminated in the making of the Titanic.
Wow. Incredible. Yeah, just absolutely. I'm trying to just getting kind of winded by this whole film. Going through it. Rose only says "I love you" to Jack once while they're both shivering in the water. Jack never says it, although he mentions what he loves about her.
Got her. 1,000 extras were drafted in for the opening scene where the Titanic leaves Southampton. 1,000 extras.
1,000 extras.
James Cameron considered Jared Leto for the role of Jack Dawson, but he refused to audition.
Bullet dodged. Not for Jared Leto, James Cameron. Jared Leto just would have been terrible with that film. But we would not remember today as a good film. Jared Leto was in it because Jared Leto is not a good actor.
Wow.
During the scene where old Rose narrates that the survivors in the lifeboats could do nothing but wait to die, wait to live, or wait for absolution, her mother Ruth is being held by Molly Brown, showing that her mother overcame her prejudice against her.
Mark Lindsay Chapman was fired and rehired twice and survived an accident where he was struck by a boat and had to be pulled from the water. James Cameron actually drew the famous Rose, which we had already talked about. There is a Wilhelm scream in here. After the Titanic hits the iceberg, water splashes inside the ship, hitting the crew members. All right, Kyle, here we go. All of these actresses were considered for the role of Rose. Are you ready? Because there's a plethora of them.
Give them to me.
And I want you to say yes or no.
All right.
Or I don't know who that is. Madchen Amick.
Don't know who that is.
Jennifer Aniston.
Yes.
Vanessa Angel.
Yes.
Gabriel Anwar.
I don't know who that is.
Christina Applegate.
Yes.
Rosanna Arquette.
No.
Drew Barrymore.
Yes.
Kate Beckinsale.
Yeah. Enthusiastic, yeah.
Julie Benz.
Yes.
Rose Byrne.
No.
Neve Campbell.
I don't know who that is.
The lady from Scream. Or not Scream. Yeah, Scream.
Okay, no.
It's either... Yeah, the other one's the other one.
No.
Gabriel Carteris, you know who that is? That's the from Beverly Hills 90210, the lady that ran the newspaper.
Yeah, no.
Jennifer Connelly.
Yes.
Holly Marie Combs.
Yes.
Claire Danes.
No.
Brittany Daniel.
Don't know who that is.
Gina Davis.
Yes.
Amanda Donahoe.
I don't know who that is.
Cameron Diaz.
Ooh.
I don't think she can.
No.
Minnie Driver. Probably.
Yeah, yes.
Eliza Dushku.
Yes.
I like how you get emphatic with some of these. Claire Forlani.
I don't know who that is.
Jodie Foster.
Jodie Foster?
I don't think so.
No.
Maggie Gyllenhaal. Yes.
Yes.
Sally Hawkins.
Really? Sally Hawkins? Oh, well, yeah, I'm going to say yes.
Katherine Heigl.
Katherine Heigl, yes.
Amelia Heinley.
Don't know who that is.
Natasha Henstridge.
No.
Eva Herzegova.
I don't know who that is.
Angelina Jolie.
No.
Mila Jovovich.
Yes.
Nicole Kidman. Absolutely.
Yes.
She can do anything.
Yeah.
Allison King.
Yes.
Jordan Ladd.
I don't know who that is.
Robin Lively.
Yes.
Carrie Lowell.
Don't know who that is.
Madonna.
No.
Leslie Mann.
Yes.
Sophie Marceau.
No.
Penelope Ann Miller.
Don't remember who that is.
Michelle Monaghan.
Yes.
Emily Mortimer.
I don't know who that is.
Or Mortimer. Thandie Newton.
Don't know who that is.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
No.
Christina Ricci.
Ooh. Like, I want to see it, but no.
Jolie Richardson.
Jolie Richardson? Don't remember who that is.
Carrie Russell.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Jerry Ryan. 7 of 9?
Ryan?
7 of 9? Are you kidding
Wow. Yes. Would have loved to have seen that.
Winona Ryder?
Yeah, absolutely. Winona Ryder? She would have
Nicolette
killed
Sheridan?
it. Would have killed it. Who?
Nicolette Sheridan?
I don't know who that is.
Iona Sky?
You own a sky? No.
Tori Spelling?
Yeah, I would have seen it.
Sharon Stone?
Sharon Stone. I know who it is, but it's just, yeah, I think so.
Charlize Theron?
Charlize Theron? Yes.
Uma Thurman?
Yes.
Raquel Weisz?
Yes.
Reese Witherspoon? Absolutely. And Alicia Witt. So, wow, that's...
Quite a cast.
It would be interesting to see any of those people in that role, because the problem is, once you get a movie and you see the characters, it's hard to picture somebody else in the roles. Like, hey, Jack could have been played by Johnny Depp. Yeah, but would it have been the same kind of movie?
Exactly. So, like, it really is, the casting changes the whole movie in so many respects. So,
right.
Yeah.
The Screen Actors Guild decided following an investigation that nothing was inherently unsafe about the set. Additionally, Leonardo DiCaprio said that there was no point when he felt he was in danger during filming, even after he threw his shoulder out with the bench. At the departure scene, the extras were filmed on a green screen in a parking lot. The second film about the Titanic to win the Best Picture Oscar after Cavalcade in 1933.
Wow.
Kyle, write that down. You might have to see if that's...
Cavalcade in 1933.
Cavalcade. Barbara Streisand was considered for the role of the unsinkable Molly Brown. Here we go. I told this to Kyle earlier. For the role of Jack Dawson. Are you ready? Mm-hmm. Tom Cruise.
Yes.
I guess you could have Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. That'd been right around the time.
Yeah. It's on there.
It is on there?
Yep.
Sweet. Ethan Hawke.
Ethan Hawke, yeah.
Brad Pitt.
No.
And yes, Macaulay Culkin.
We had a brief discussion about that. I'm going to be a little more kind on the podcast recording, but no, I don't think Macaulay Culkin would have been good for this film.
Oh, man. The engine room scenes were partially filmed aboard the World War II ship SS Jeremiah O'Brien. Smaller railings and catwalks were installed to make the engines appear bigger. The three actors who played Mr. Lovett, Mr. Bodine, and the third-class Chinese ponytailed third-class passengers are best friends of James Cameron in real life. So, hey, I'm making this movie. You want to come be in it?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And a couple more here. Hugh Grant was offered the role of Cal, but politely told James Cameron it wasn't his thing. Michael Ensign, who portrays Benjamin Guggenheim, was also in the 1980 movie Raise the Titanic, which was based upon the Clive Cussler book I do have over here somewhere.
Yeah. On here, I just want to list off a few of the things real quick. They had some of the movie mistakes listed here, which Jimbo actually just kind of just listed off movie mistakes, so I guess he wants me to read all of them.
Well, no, I wasn't going to highlight them. There was several.
There's a whole lot of them on there. Yeah. Well, there's only 3 right here. You might have another page down there later.
No, this is the last... I only have one more fact to go.
Okay. Well, I'll mention these real quick, and then you can get your last fact in. Rose mentioned in Sigmund Freud's idea of male preoccupation with size to Bruce. Freud did not publish the work relating to this until 1920, titled The Pleasure Principle. Also, up until 19, Freud relied solely on data from females. This next fact is acknowledged by James Cameron. Jack claims to have gone ice fishing on Lake Wet'suwet'en near Chippewa Falls in Wisconsin. Lake Wet'suwet'en is a man-made reservoir which wasn't created until 1917. When Jack and Rose are talking about going to the Santa Monica Pier, Jack says that we'll ride on the roller coaster until we throw up. But the roller coaster itself had not been built until 1916. And finally, the underwater shots of the propellers are incorrect. The famous photo of the ship in dry dock and the men standing near the propellers clearly shows that the propellers were bolted together with giant nuts as was the practice at the time. The underwater shots of the propellers show smooth metal, not bolt heads or nuts suggesting welding, which were not available until World War II.
And the last fact that I have, 20th Century Fox acquired 40 acres of waterfront south of Playas de Rosarito in Mexico and stated building a brand new studio in May 31, 1996. Or started, sorry. A 17 million gallon tank was built for the exterior of the reconstructed ship, providing 270 degrees of ocean view. The ship was built to full scale, but production design removed redundant sections on the superstructure and the forward well decks so that it would fit the tank. The remaining sections were filled in digitally. The lifeboats and funnels were shrunk by 10%. While the boat deck and the A deck were full working sets, the rest of the ship was still plating. Contained within that was a 50-foot lifting platform for the ship to tilt during the sinking sequences. While towering above that was a 162-foot tall tower crane on 600 feet of rail track. This was used as construction, lighting, and camera platform. So, Kyle, what is your thoughts on Titanic?
This film is like a cornerstone of cinema history that occurred in my own lifetime. This film is kind of like like one of the most important films in the world to me. I think actually it's one of the best films ever made, and it deserves pretty much all the recognition it's got. It deserves to be like one of the highest grossing movies of all time, and probably will remain that way for another 50 years to come. I don't know how many other films will come close to kind of hitting that benchmark of earnings over their lifetimes as Titanic did. And who knows, maybe the new blockbuster will succeed that over time. So for me, this film is a strong 9 out of 10 for me. I think this film is just simply one of the best ever made. It's one of those films anyone can go watch. It doesn't have a sci-fi bent or some other kind of thing that kind of hangs up people when it comes to genre appreciation. This film, I think, can appeal to basically all audiences of a significantly mature enough age to watch the film, and it's fantastic. So for me, this is probably deserves spots from even my top 10 films of all time, really. Even though I don't watch it many times, it's still an incredibly impressive film each time I watch it. So that's kind of my overall thoughts on the film itself. Jimbo, how do you feel about the film?
I'm going to have to agree. I think that all the work that James Cameron, he researched 5 years before he even started.
Doesn't miss.
He did all that. The attention to detail as far as the time period props, the time period costumes. The music's fantastic. That Celine Dion song, you think of Titanic and you think of that song automatically, even
Absolutely,
though she never really did it. It's that good of a song. All the stuff that he did with the underwater research, the diving, even now, all the special documentaries and stuff that you can go where he meets the guy that actually found the Titanic, and just to see all the footage, it is a movie that it should not be missed. I'm going to have to agree with you. I think it is probably one of the best movies ever made. I'll probably give it a 9 as well.
Another quick thing I want to add, this is one of the only huge films that is singular in its execution. There's never a sequel to Titanic in the works. There's nothing like that ever going to exist. I'm sure some executive wants it someday, but there's never a sequel to Titanic. It's not like Star Wars or Back to the Future or Ghostbusters that all have legacy sequels going on now or to the end of time, all that kind of stuff. This is a film it only exists once. And it's one of the biggest films that will ever be made.
Right. It kind of reminds me of those epics Gone with the Wind, Ben-Hur, stuff like that. I think you can safely put them in those kind of categories.
Yeah.
Where it's an epic, and even though it's 3 hours long, 3 hours long, it doesn't feel like that. Yeah. You're so developed into the story, and you know the ending, you know the outcome, pretty much. Mm-hmm. Did he take liberties with adding the love story and all that? Sure. Okay. But he did find that stone, the cemetery stone with Jay Dawson on it, so it's not that far of a stretch that somebody could have been named that on there.
He secured a legacy of its memory itself. I think there's many other tragedies which filmmakers have really struggled to capture. And this one does add a sense of story to it, where it's many more people will remember Titanic because of the film. And they will also be able to do more research on the true history of it because of the film. Versus other things where films that we've covered that are about the Holocaust, they could be great films, but sometimes they fail to capture the authenticity of the events that actually occurred in the Holocaust and don't reinforce the actual history of it. So it's hard to do research on it where you can appreciate the film, but doesn't mean you appreciate the gravity of the history of that thing. Or similar, it's very difficult to make any kind of good film about 9/11, despite the fact that many people know about it. Titanic is the only film that manages to both enhance the real life history of it and be an excellent film in its own right in that kind of category. It is both historical and an amazing drama film in a way that many other films just aren't. So I appreciate that.
So, on behalf of Kyle and myself, we want to thank you for this crazy ride of the last 4 years that we've been doing this podcast. We don't have any intentions of slowing down or stopping anytime soon. At least I don't. It's more of a hobby at this point. I mean, it's a fun hobby. It forces me to watch movies that I was probably going to watch anyway. So we want to say thank you to everybody that listens. It's because of you guys that makes this fun, and to see some of the comments and all that.
Yeah.
But before we wrap this up, there's one thing that I do want to say, that it is our 4th anniversary, and I want to make sure that I make this point very clear, Kyle. Are you ready before I wrap this up? Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. So with that being said, I think this episode's coming to a close, and that's a wrap.
And cut.